Yeah, yeah. So my name is Mugume Davis Rwakari. Back to some of the things that we already answered. Please don't be offended. Yeah. Uh, so on Friday, the court session where Dr. Chiza Besigye was slapped with flesh charges of treason, you managed to visit him at the High Court. Please talk to us. What was his situation? How is he?
Kizza Besigye was wheeled into Buganda Road Court yesterday morning. We had little notice, the lawyers and the family, but we were tipped. We rushed there, and he was charged with treason and remanded in Luzira for another 2 weeks. We were rather shocked because, first of all, the charges on the court martial were different from the charges that they have preferred this time, but we are ready for them because we know he's an innocent man. We have a sense of how they set out to frame him. And so we expected at least that he's referred to the hospital instead of the military court. He said instead of prison, they sent him back to prison. But when I met him yesterday, he was relaxed in his prison cell.
After 10 days of hunger strike, how is health like?
Carlo Besigye called off his strike when he was formally charged in a court of law because all he wanted was to make the point that I have my identity cards. All he wanted to say was that he was happy to be charged in a court of law that's competent because all along he was seeing himself as an abductee of President Museveni and his son. They were holding him with absolutely no warrant for arrest when the court-martial was declared illegal. Now there's some legality, but the charges are all framed, trumped-up charges. He's expecting to go before the court and be found innocent, but it's all a tragedy because he spent his whole life, 25 years, going through this, being framed, being found innocent, then being framed again. He's hounded, and this is not how he wants to spend his life.
The situation at the court, and as you rightly said, I was charged with among other crimes, the crime of treason, but this time in an ordinary court. Are you hopeful that this time around, now that it's not the military court, do you have hope that justice will prevail?
I have much, much more hope. It is a competent court. It has lawyers who are trained. They have the independence to exercise justice, deliver justice, and they should. But also I know that these courts are interfered with just like other institutions, and that President Museveni has been hammering at them, asking them not to grant bail, asking them to deliver judgments that he wants. So they are also under pressure, but we continue to appeal to them to deliver justice, and we expect and are hopeful that we'll get justice.
Dr. Chiza Besigye has been imprisoned. Actually, I was reading somewhere saying he's in the book of records that someone has been imprisoned several times. And but this latest case that he has we've seen high-profile opposition figures, including the National Unity Platform leader, Honorable Chaguranyi, who is also commonly known as Bobi Wine, stand with you. I've seen Mugisha Muntu, retired Major General. We have seen other opposition leaders come together. How important has this been to you? And do you think going forward, other opposition leaders should always come together when there is need like this?
Yes, the unity of progressive forces is a very positive development. We really need now to mobilize all Ugandans on one side, Ugandans who want a democratic transition, a transition from the autocratic rule of President Museveni to a democratic dispensation. And that should bring all people, of, even including from the NRM, together, because a disorderly, violent transition will cost Ugandans a lot. But an orderly transition where we are all involved in making the change will consolidate the good things that are there and will continue to build on them.
Considering what is transpired, we read a post from CDF, one of which was saying he wants to behead your husband, Dr. Chiza Besigye. We also read another one where he was saying Dr. Chiza Besigye will leave the prison in a coffin. Do you fear for the life of your husband, Dr. Chiza Besigye?
These statements are shocking, but my sense is that this chief of the army is not well mentally. I think he needs really to consult with some doctors over his mental health. The statements themselves are shocking and indeed worrying because he holds a very powerful office, the Chief of Defense Forces. When he says that I am ready to hang him, the message to the institution of the army is that it's decided he's guilty. And this can result into some soldier taking the law into his hands. So those statements should not be taken lightly, should not be taken as jokes or like words of somebody who is drunk or whatever. They should be taken for what they are. They are very dangerous words coming from a very powerful officer, and they can come down and be implemented by a junior person who is also going through some difficult times. Yeah.
And yourself, as a family, you are an important person, local and even internationally. What are you doing to ensure that justice will be rendered to your husband?
I am the wife of this person who is in the eye of the storm, but let's also not forget he's not the only one. Yesterday I was at these prayers where there were like more than 30 people affected who have their loved ones in prison, not tried, months, years, and others who have their people disappeared forever. But he's brought attention to this because he's a high-profile leader. And my role, therefore, is to stand by him to fight to end those practices that oppress those who don't agree with President Museveni. It's really about using the opportunity of his own imprisonment to fight for those changes in our laws to end this kind of abuse, using the military courts to silence opposition. That one we have got. Now they are going to amend it, we shall still be there fighting.
I'll take it to this question that has been also on social media. Considering that your families, the Byanyima family and Museveni himself, are families that have known each other even before Museveni came to power. And Dr. Chiza Besigye was President Museveni's physician during the guerrilla war that brought him to power. Considering this suffering that your husband, Dr. Chiza Besigye, has gone through, is there a personal vendetta against Dr. Besigye? Would you say so?
No, not a vendetta. And the friendship between our families will endure. It's not going to break because of these politics, but certainly there's something strained there. But we are not, it's not that it doesn't hurt us that his government is framing him. If he were doing these things, maybe it wouldn't be hard, but when we have the facts and know that everything has come from him to frame him. It's very painful. But let us see how it goes. But I think the family relationship is a small part of this, and we will always be able to remain family friends. But the real issue is about all these other people who are also incarcerated, who have no voice, who are just there for years. This, the sad story is actually the story of all those who are not Dr. Kizza Besigye, who are unknown, but who get silenced through the court martial just like that.
And considering that yourself and Dr. Kizza Besigye, you are formerly with President Museveni in the bush and the war that brought him to power. Now that all this is happening, do you feel betrayed by the president?
Oh, yeah, I've been betrayed for a long, 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 long time. Because remember, I was also one of the young people who abandoned a PhD program and followed him to the bush to turn our country around, make it democratic, to give respect human rights, to all this, bring a new constitution, all of that. And I've seen it rejected, and I've seen him develop new priorities and new allies. I don't work for. I used to work for the NRM, but now I don't. I left them, and we've seen the promise of a country that is fairer, that's more equal, that's democratic, that gives a voice to everybody. We've seen that dream slowly die. And what we have now is personal rule and coercive rule. You do what I say or I'll deal with you. It's a shame.
We'll go back to this case of this case that Dr. Kizza Besigye is having. Yourself, you work in Geneva. Your son is not here. It must have taken a big toll on you.
Yeah, I had to make a decision way back after the 2001 election to withdraw. I had won my seat. I was still a popular MP in my area. But I had to decide to withdraw from Ugandan politics and to support my husband. And that was really determined because of my son. We, Besigye and I, were the leading opposition figures, and we were constantly hounded, really hounded. Besigye was fled to exile. I tried to stay, but there was a time I had like 5 cases in the court. I won an election, they put in a petition. They brought another constitutional case, another one. It was too much. My son started to suffer trauma. Started thinking that I work in police stations because every day they were taking me to police. At that moment, I withdraw. Yeah, I was only about 3. For his well-being and for stability in our family. So we separated and we live like this because of the situation here. What was your question?
The question was, this latest case must have had a very big toll on you, your family, yourself. The fact that you also have to travel from Geneva and come here to Uganda, your son, seeing all this happening, and other family members.
Yes, it's hard for me to keep many balls in the air, to be here to fight for his life, because it's a capital offense, to be continuing with my job, to lead the global HIV response, and to take care of my son who is away. It's not easy, but you juggle, and hey, people around me also have challenges, even bigger, so I don't feel special. But the truth is that no one in the opposition should have to live like Kizza Besigye has lived in the last 25 years. They have placed him in a very, very difficult situation that no one who wants to be president could take.
You already said that Dr. Kizza Besigye fears for his life. Yourself, despite the fact that you are a prominent figure, both local and international, working for UNAIDS, do you also fear for your life, you yourself and some of our members? Do you fear for your life?
No, I don't fear for my life. I think that having my global job gives me a lot of protection. And I also expect that the Uganda government will respect the relationship it has with the United Nations and not attack me. So in that sense, I feel safe, but I feel sad about others who are not safe.
Lastly, thanks very much for talking to me, but lastly, I'm asking this because you are formerly colleagues, you are family members. Do you get a time to talk to President Museveni as a family member or as a formerly colleague? Or if you're not talking to him, if you met him, what would you tell him?
I have had time in the past to talk to him, and I must say, when I ask to see him, he doesn't refuse. But I haven't seen him.
Yeah. So I was asking you if you talk to President Museveni as a family member, as a former uh, wish or colleague, yeah. Or if you are not, if you met him, what would you tell him?
President Museveni and I do talk from time to time. He's never closed the door to us. I think he also values our family relationship, but I don't remember when we last talked, but at least I know that he's open for discussion with us on family issues and on all of that. So, but in this case, because it's really a political matter, it's not just about Besigye, it's a political matter, it's about how opposition is treated. This I have to fight with other activists, and I can't go lobbying him personally. No, we have to move together.
Jonas, we keep saying the last one, but last one, are you hopeful that justice is finally going to prevail now that Dr. Chiza Besigye is under the ordinary courts?
No, it's not automatic. The judiciary is also deeply interfered with, very deeply. There are judges who are compromised. We don't know who we have. But by and large, the courts have tried to exercise some independence, so there's a hope.
Thanks very much.
You're welcome. Thank you, thank you.
Yeah, yeah. So my name is Mugume Davis Rwakari.